And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Smokin Tabacco Show. I'm Matt Tobacco from SmokinTabacco.com, and I'm joined again by my beautiful girlfriend, Smokin Nicole. Mr. Jonathan Carney from La Flor Dominicana is absent once again. This week it's because there's a little bit of a conflicting broadcast. John has, I can't remember which number it is. I want to say it's number 7. But he's got his gourmet smoke sessions. He is live in Arkansas tonight. And so I think he's going to be right around the same time. We're going to be competing shows. So if you want to see some LFD cooking with John, sure, dump the show and go over there. But I think we're going to have a little more fun over here. In spirit, we are smoking LFD, and we'll get to that in a minute. But tonight, we do have the one and only, the Master Sensei. Eric from Cigar Dojo is here. Eric, what's going on?
Hey guys, I'm excited to be on the show, hanging out on a Wednesday night, smoking cigars, drinking bourbon. What more could you want?
That's what it's all about, and as you guys always say, never smoke alone.
That's right. You gotta, even if you're alone in your garage, you can be smoking with other aficionados wherever they may be, all over the world.
And that's the great thing about not only what you guys have done. I think, especially last year with the pandemic, a lot of shops, lounges, cigar bars, all the public places that people would gather to hang out and socialize. Even if you didn't go with a friend, maybe you met someone, that was mostly shut down last year for the most part. So, the online aspect of kind of like what we all do, and it really came to the forefront, is the place for everyone. You start seeing more Zooms and virtual herfs and stuff like that. So, but the dojo was always there. And you guys have a great community of people that get together and smoke. Anyone who hasn't heard of the Cigar Dojo, you guys obviously you have your app and you have your website, and you guys have a lot of stuff going on. We'll get to it, but I think that's the forefront, and that's the focal point here. Is just you never have to smoke alone, and it's one of those things. I thought about it as your slogan or your motto or whatever. It's true. I mean, even if you're alone, like that, you can. It's 2021. I mean, you really never have to be alone. You can get on your phone. You can get on your laptop. You can smoke with people. They might not be right here with you, but you're smoking with people, and I think that's magical. It's what makes everything what we do so special. But tonight, before we go too far, we have what we're smoking. So Eric, as our guest, what are you smoking tonight?
I just lit up the Perdomo 10th anniversary Sun Grown.
Ooh.
It's one of my favorite smokes that I go to quite often on the Maduro and even the Champagne. I like all three of them, but tonight seemed like the Sun Grown was the one for me, so that's what I went with.
It's funny you say that because I have in front of me, on the desk here. It's not what I'm smoking, but I was smoking these yesterday. I was actually hanging out with Coop, and I had one. I grabbed a couple of these, and it's based off of the 20th Sun Grown, and it's the rare, I think it's rare now, the Perdomo Firecracker cigar from Perdomo and United Cigars, which fantastic smoke, by the way. Packs a lot of punch for a little sun-grown cigar. But tonight, I am smoking the LFD El Granu. And according to our friends at twoguyscigars.com, this is a 6x64, and it retails for $9.89, or unlike most boxes, you can buy a box of 100 for $872.99, which is.
And what's the count on that box?
It's 100.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
You better really like that if you're gonna make that purchase.
Well, it's funny because I talked to John about it, and he was like, "Well, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, the conversation was, well, we thought about it with more of like the retailer in mind for like the display, like you open the crate and like they're all in there, and but yeah, that's a pretty big box, and it's a big cigar to have a lot of too. So yeah. That's crazy. Nicole, what are you smoking?
I'm smoking the LFD Lennox Toro. And according to twoguyscigars.com, a single goes for $12.39, and a box of 20 goes for $219.99. Oh.
Yeah, so in John's absence, yet again for 2 weeks in a row, he
Yeah.
seems to do this like 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off kind of thing. So he should be back next week. I forgot that there was a gourmet smoke session today. I texted him. I'm like, the little Dojo mashup show. You ready? And he's like, bro, I have a gourmet smoke session. I'm like, oh, come on, this is
What
gonna be.
what a loser.
I know. See, like this is gonna be good. This is gonna be good. Eric knows. Shots fired early in this show. I love it. So now that we've gotten that kind of out of the way, we were talking before. The dojo has been around for a little while, and you guys have created such a great community. But for our viewers and our listeners, tell us, how did the dojo come to be? I don't even think I know this, which I'm surprised. But how did the dojo come to be, and how long ago was that?
So it's actually really dates back to like 2011. We started a blog called QuickCigarReviews.com, and the idea behind QuickCigarReviews.com was it was really just kind of for our own fun. Us guys in the family here, me, Jordan, Matt, that like to smoke cigars, and we thought, let's. I'm a web guy. I do that for a living, so we'll just do this sort of little side project for fun, and we can catalog the cigars that we're smoking. It'll be just a side fun project or whatever, and kind of started to get some traction, and but we didn't like that name. QuickCigarReviews.com didn't seem very marketable or anything, and so in 2012 we actually Jordan came up with the name CigarDojo.com. The idea was, like a community aspect to it, although there was no community yet. It was just a blog where we reviewed cigars, and then about 6 months later is when we came out with the app, and that's when things like exploded and really really took off. So everything pretty much happened within the years of 2011, 2012, and the app was, we were really, at the time, we were like the only cigar app out there. There was cigar forums and stuff online, a lot of that kind of stuff. There was no Facebook groups, nothing like that. So we were literally like the only thing like it at the time. And so it really escalated quickly, which was a ton of fun. And obviously between then and now, lots of other crazy stuff has happened since that we've had to adjust. But that was pretty much the genesis of it all. And then sometime in between there, we kind of made it our full-time gig, because it was sort of our life at that point. It just blew up, and so now that's what we do full-time.
So, about roughly, would you say? I know probably you don't know exact, but roughly, how many members of Cigar Dojo do you think you have?
So it's right now there's about 27,000.
Wow.
So what happened is we had the app on the app stores, right? And it was on Apple and Google, and it was a regular app. And at that point we had, I don't know, 56,000 or something like that. But when now I'm gonna sort of jump ahead here, but when Apple kicked all the cigar apps off of their platform, we redeveloped the app and kind of started over, and that was just last July. So that hasn't even been a year yet. And so now we're at about I don't know, I think 26,000, something like that.
I mean, that's a pretty good following of people to get together, with that, like we were talking about before, that community, that cigar smoking community, within one platform. There's a lot of different platforms. We'll kind of talk a little bit more as we go. Specifically, one comes to mind. Like McAuliffe Cigars, they have their ambassador program, which is kind of like their own following for their own brand, but it's still a community of cigar smokers that get together and they smoke all sorts of different kinds of things. You have the Dojo universe. There's a lot of them out there, and so anyone who gets that many people together, that's an accomplishment, and it's great. It's great for the community. Like I was saying before, last year, with the pandemic, and a lot of people, they couldn't get together in person. They could go online. They could get together with people. They could, pull out their phones. They could go on their laptops. They can go on their iPads. There's a lot of like cigar clubs on like Instagram and Facebook that are, not as, involved and as big as, like Dojo and stuff like that, but they get people together, and I always thought that that was the most important part of, what everyone's doing, with this. That's really cool. Now, the other thing I noticed is that, you guys still do reviews. You have your community. You even have on the Dojo website, I noticed that you have a Hall of Fame for some of your
Yeah.
dojo members. So, how did that come to be?
Yeah, so the Hall of Fame, it's sort of a contentious idea, and it's gotten us into trouble in the past because we wanted it to be like a super exclusive kind of deal where it's very difficult to get into, and it's really for dojo members that have gone like above and beyond or have just been there all the time, like day in and day out. I don't know, it used to be every year we would induct 5 members or so into the Hall of Fame, and we've slowed that down quite a bit in the last few years, to try to just keep it, like, hey man, if you're in the Hall of Fame, like you've really done stuff, you've really hung around a long time, or you've done some stuff behind the scenes or whatever to help our community grow and stay a positive community. So it's really it's just kind of a fun, goofy sort of thing that we do, and the people that get elected into the Hall of Fame, they get some special swag that comes in the mail, that kind of stuff, and their name is emboldened into the Hall of Fame for forever.
Yeah, that I haven't really seen a lot of that in any other communities, so I think that's really cool. When I saw that, I was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" So they have a section on there where certain members of theirs are like they're always up there, like you were saying, like they're up there forever. It has their name, where they're from, and a little bit, about them or whatever. And I thought that was really cool. It's a nice touch, and it's a nice way to it's not only like kind of just enshrine like some of your more like devoted followers and members and stuff like that, but it's a cool way of, I don't know, I guess you could say, incentivize people to be more, involved and part of the community and stuff like that. Like, hey, you can be part of the Hall of Fame too if you're really dedicated to it.
Yeah, nowadays we have automated sort of ways of getting recognition. We'll probably talk about this more, but in the dojo verse, as you participate, you earn, first you start with your white belts, and then the more you participate, you get a yellow belt, and then an orange belt, and green, and brown, and red, and eventually you get your black belt. And so, like, if you see a guy on the dojoverse.com that is a black belt, you know that dude is legit. Like, he or she has really, really participated a lot in the span of however long it took them to become a black belt. So that's like another that's part of our new platform, which I wouldn't say it's taking over the Hall of Fame, because we'll probably continue to have that. But this way, it's all sort of automated so that it's not relying on me and Jordan just picking names, which could seem unfair. The black belt thing, that's just all on your own, man. If you can earn a black belt, then you are a black belt.
So I don't think you touched on this earlier, but where exactly does that whole like martial arts dojo, the sensei theme kind of, where did that really come from? Like, was there an inspiration specifically for that for the dojo?
Well, I'd love to say that there was some sort of actual real connection to martial arts, but really the truth of the matter is when Jordan found the name cigardojo.com, and we liked that name because we wanted, our idea way back in the day was a community where you can learn more about cigars from guys who know a lot, or maybe you are a guy or a girl who knows a lot and you want to teach others. So we felt like, hey, this is cool. It's like a dojo. This is where you go to train and to learn, or possibly teach or be a teacher. And so that it just all played into the the community aspect of things. I had done a lot of big like internet communities before the dojo that had nothing to do with cigars, by the way. So my goal all along was to have some type of community aspect to it. And so that name was just such a good marketable name that it really stuck with us, and we were able to, it had some fun branding aspects that we could play with. Master Sensei, which obviously I'm not a sensei, I'm just a dude. But it sort of became my moniker, and it still freaks me out to this day when people call me, they'll be, hey Sensei, come over, like we'll be at a cigar place, hey Sensei, come here, and I'm always just like, it just seems so strange, right? But it's just really just a fun kind of a play on the whole community aspect.
I could imagine you being in a public crowd and someone being like, "Oh, Sensei," and they all look, and then there's some guy who's like, "Oh, you practice," and you're like, "No, I really don't know how to do it. I just it's a long story," and they're like, "Oh, this guy's a fraud. He's not really a Sensei."
It's like appropriating that. I mean, I should just smack him for that.
So I'm curious, what was your profession before that you did this full time?
By trade, I'm a graphic artist. But later in life, I got into SEO and optimizing websites and helping people get found on the internet, that kind of stuff. And that's obviously what helped the dojo grow so quickly. Is we had a bit of expertise in that realm, and now I don't really do that at all. I just do the dojo. So.
That's cool. Did you create the graphic, like behind you, the backdrop?
Yeah, actually, this is a gigantic canvas print that me and Jordan made, and so yeah, we do all that. We do all the most of the branding on all of our cigar collaborations and that kind of stuff. So yeah, both of us do graphics. Jordan's really good, a photographer and videographer, so he does most of that kind of stuff. He's also the main editor on the dojo, and then we have other guys that write reviews for us. But Jordan's sort of the lead editor of the whole operation.
That's really cool. I mean, it's nice having those skills in house, especially if that's like what your strong suit is, where you came from, and you go to start something like this. That's number one, it makes it easy for you right out of the gate. Number two, it saves you on money because you don't have to hire other people to do it for you. So I can see how, that's really helped you grow easily and quickly by just being able to do kind of all that yourself. I know I'm not a computer guy. So in the beginning, like when I had my website, I was like, I need to meet with like a web guy because I needed some help getting I built most of it by myself, but then there was some stuff that I just didn't know. So that definitely would be a good advantage. One of the observations that I've made so far is that a lot of the cigar guys come from computer backgrounds. So like you come from a computer background, Coop's a computer background guy. I believe even Steve Saka was in computer stuff before he went into the cigar industry, if I remember correctly.
I think he was a blogger for a while, I think.
But he also, I thought he worked for like a software company or something like that.
I think he did.
Yeah.
I think that too. But Dan Thompson from McAuliffe.
Dan Thompson, he worked for Microsoft for like 25 years, something like that. So, yeah, something about the cigar industry is very attractive to the computer guys. I don't know what it is. It seems to be a thing. And of course, you guys have your own podcast too. You have, you have your show that's coming up tonight. I'm sorry. What was I gonna say? I'm losing my notes here. My iPad is like all over the place. I had a whole outline of like stuff that I was bringing up here, and like now this is what happens. But yeah, so you have your show tonight. You have your Flavor Odyssey. Then of course you have the Smoke Night Live podcast. So you guys have two podcasts that you run,
Right.
which I used to do. So I used to I'm kind of going back to it. So I used to do myself. I used to do two podcasts. I was I had the Smokin Tabacco show at one point, and then I was on the Ash Holes podcast. Kind of in the beginning of my podcast days. So I know what it's like to have two different shows that you got to prepare for and set up and then be on, and it's a lot. So that's a lot of work in itself too. But now, I've kind of gone back to that as we haven't really made a huge fuss over it. But Coop and I are now going to be doing a show together that'll be bi-weekly called the Spare Notes series. So if you guys caught the first one, that's cool. If not, you should check it out. It's all on our YouTube channel, and it's kind of mixed in with the other episodes on the podcast channels and stuff like that. So kind of going back to 2 shows that I got to prepare for in a week. But yeah, that's definitely a lot of work. And you guys have quite the following too on those shows, and you guys do pretty well. I mean, I feel like the last year has kind of been the year of the cigar podcast in a sense, where a lot of people kind of came out of the woodwork. And I've had this conversation with Coop too, and I'm sure you saw it too. There was a lot of people that kind of came out and started shows, and then it kind of dwindled back down. But some cool people came out of it, and we came out of it. Not tooting my own horn, but we came out of it. There's been some other people that the McAuliffe guys. They started their off the record show, which has been pretty successful. They've done really well with that.
I'm curious though. So for people who may not have seen either of your podcasts, in a nutshell, what are both of them about?
All right. So tonight, every Wednesday night, we do Flavor Odyssey, which is actually hosted by Robbie Raz and Randy Griggs. And then me and Jordan produce the show from here in Colorado, and we're on it just as kind of like so that we can banter with the fellas a little bit. But what they do on Flavor Odyssey, it's really cool. They'll every season is a different theme, and it's a pairing show. But this season they're going through different flavor components. So like they had a spicy segment which was 4 weeks long. They had a sweet, I think, segment. Right now we're in chocolatey, a chocolatey segment. Tonight's the final segment of the chocolatey segment. So then we'll be pairing something that has chocolate notes in it that may or may not pair well. That's sort of the fun of it, is sometimes the pairings aren't good, and sometimes you learn more when the pairing isn't good than when it is good. Although tonight, I feel pretty confident it's going to be good, because tonight is Mexican hot chocolate paired with the Undercrown 10. Ooh. So I feel like that one is going to be. I feel like that one's going to be a good one, but I guess we'll wait and see how that goes tonight. And Robbie, he's been in the cigar industry for a long time. He started Cigar Chat with Cigar Federation way back in the day. And Randy, he's a renowned beer expert, so he knows everything there literally is to know. I've never met anybody that knows more about beer than Randy Griggs, and so they have a really good dynamic, and they really know their stuff. Robbie knows a lot about cigars, and Randy knows a lot about the drinks and stuff. So it's a really interesting show to see them go through. And at the end of the show, it's thumbs up or thumbs down. Sometimes it's mixed review, that kind of a thing. So this is season 3 of Flavor Odyssey. Smoke Night Live we've been doing forever. In fact, we're coming up on our 300th episode pretty soon, in just a few weeks. And that's where we have guests every Friday night. This Friday it's going to be the gas station cigar showdown. So I'll show you.
Geez.
So this is going to be crazy. So we will be smoking. I've been wanting to do this show for so long. We will be smoking Dutch Masters.
Oh God, the names. Hearing these names is like so fun.
Phillies
Blunts. Yep.
We got some Black and Mild.
Yep.
I know you got some grape game in there.
Got some Al Capones, and of course, no show would be like this we could do without, of course, Backwoods. So we'll be there'll be, I think, 5 of us on that show, and this isn't my plan for this show is not to just bash this stuff. Like, I mean, these cigars sell more in a couple days than the entire premium cigar world, So we're not just gonna like mock this stuff. We want to take it seriously and see what these things have to offer, what they're like in comparison to premium cigars. Where do they rank on the overall, scale of things, and take it seriously and see what we can come up with.
Well, in the theme of not bashing it, I will say this, and I'll say it on the air. I will admit, I do love the aroma off the Black and Milds, and I've had a few, and they're not horrible. Like, if I'm really in the mood, I've been known to have one once in a very while, and when I do smell those, I do enjoy that aroma. So I will say that I'm not going to frown on it. It can be enjoyable.
Well, it's like anything. It's like I don't smoke this stuff, really, or anything like that. But at the same time, millions and millions of people do, and it's one of those segments of the market that subsidizes a lot of what we love in the premium cigar industry. I mean, these guys at their local gas station or grocery store. So what do they like? What do they have to offer? How good, how bad are they? And we're gonna dive deep and try to find out. I can't hear you, by the way, all of a sudden. Maybe it was the gas station cigars.
It might have
Killed
been.
the audio.
You can
Oh,
hear
there
us
we
now,
go.
right?
Right.
Yeah,
There we go.
I'm like, what
Now
happened
I can
there?
hear you.
Um,
That's all right.
no, I was saying before though, I love this idea, and I'll wait a while, but I might borrow it from you because I really like this idea.
Okay.
But I won't
You know
steal it from you this week.
Check this out. We're adding one wrinkle to the show. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this before. Let me see if I can grab it.
Okay.
It kind of goes along with it. We will be drinking non-alcoholic bourbon. Have you ever heard of non-alcoholic bourbon?
No.
No.
So we're gonna
Now I'm
we're gonna
intrigued.
Yeah. So we're gonna try this non-alcoholic bourbon as well, and this is really popular these days. Is this non-alcoholic spirits? So I've been super curious, and it just seemed like it fit with this type of a show, and so we'll also be sampling that. I have no idea. you guys.
Interesting.
I have zero idea of what to expect with that. I really don't.
See, I would have thought you would have paired like the best of gas station beer, like
Right. Yeah.
Like the
yeah,
40s
like
and
40s
Yeah.
and like.
That would have been a good idea too.
Yeah.
That would have also been hilarious. But I've been seeing this on Facebook, and I was like, God, what is that? I wonder what that's like. I think really their main goal with this stuff is for cocktails. I don't think you're supposed to drink it neat, but I'm gonna at least try some of it neat, and then have some in maybe an old fashioned, and see what it's like.
I've had a non-alcoholic like rosé, which was interesting. It had adaptogens and other stuff that's supposed to be good for you, and it's supposed to calm you down. Some of them have like CBD infusion, and it's interesting. There's a whole market for it, people who don't want to drink. So.
well, I mean, I guess
Right,
yeah. I mean, you have the non-drinkers who maybe don't want to feel left out.
Yeah.
You can give them an option too. I mean, it makes sense, and I won't knock it either because I'm sure there's people out there who probably rely on these products,
Yeah.
to have because they won't drink alcohol either because they can't or whatever, they choose not to, but they want to be part of the game too. So, I won't knock it. It's definitely interesting. Non-alcoholic bourbon, I think, is very interesting to me. I mean, non-alcoholic beer, like I can kind of see that, but like. I'm just trying to think like non-alcoholic bourbon. That's interesting. That's an interesting mix. I'm definitely gonna.
So what that means is we have to watch a show on Friday.
Yeah, I we're really gonna have to, and because I really want to see what you have to say about that. That's interesting. So what is that called? Spiritless? Is that what it's called?
This particular one, I think it's called like it's the company's Spiritless, but it's like
Oh, okay.
Kentucky 74 or something like that.
I see.
Is the name of, and it turns out, I mean, there's tons of companies doing this, obviously, as you guys probably know. So this is just one of the ones that I picked because I was getting a lot of ads for it. So I'll just buy it and see what it's all about. There's a whole bar here in Denver that's all they do is like mocktails. And so it's a really growing segment of the market. And so I'm curious, what's it all about? So I'm going to find out.
Yeah, it is interesting. So we'll have to check that out. I'll check that out. Now, before the show, you were talking about you are a bourbon guy. We kind of got into that off air a little bit. And we already kind of talked about what you like, what you don't like. So what I would say again for our listeners who missed out, what are some of your favorite bourbons to drink?
So, I mean, obviously I'm no bourbon expert. But I just love bourbon. And back in the day when we could get, Pappy Van Winkle on the shelf and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I really got into bourbon, and nowadays, I'm sort of out of the chase. I don't really chase it anymore. So, if I go to the liquor store and they have Old Forester 100, which is like a $24 bottle, that's a good solid bottle. You got Elijah Craig, which is a good solid bourbon. I mean, there's a lot of uh, really decent stuff. Old Forester, their whole line of stuff, I think, is really good. So, like, if you're not sure and you're wanting to get into bourbon, Old Forester is a good place to start because they have a whole line of stuff that's easy to get and it's all pretty decent. Um, Weller, it's a lot harder to get nowadays. Henry McKenna single barrel is really good, but it got voted whiskey of the year a few years back, and so now it's like twice what we used to pay for it, and I don't know if it's quite worth that anymore.
Yeah.
But that's another good option. So yeah, like we're usually here in Dojo Studios, we have a whole lineup of stuff, and we're always trying to get try a little bit of everything. But I lean a little bit towards the Old Forester stuff just because I know it's quality at a pretty reasonable price.
Yeah, I know for us, we're fans of the regular, like the standard Buffalo Trace, the name brand bottle is a good one. I like the Rowan's Creek from the Willet
Hmm.
Distillery. Elijah Craig small batch is pretty good, as well as the 1792 small batch is another one that I enjoy. Um,
I liked that Horse Soldier.
oh yeah, the Horse
Oh,
Soldier
that was
was
good.
pretty good. We found that at Corona. Well, we were actually down in Florida last month, and we went to Corona downtown. And I think Jeff had some barrel picks of
Yep.
oh,
Was that the in Orlando or in Tampa?
in Orlando,
Yep.
in Orlando.
Yeah, the Corona in Tampa has a fantastic bourbon selection, and the guy that runs that, his name's Tommy.
Hmm.
He's a bourbon expert, and he had a barrel pick of Buffalo Trace, just the regular Buffalo Trace, but it was his own pick. It was fantastic. I mean, it was the best Buffalo Trace I've ever tasted in my life. It was absolutely phenomenal. So you can, you know, with some of those barrel picks, and Buffalo Trace is solid anyways, right? I mean,
Yeah.
almost everything they make is really good. All the Wellers, like we talked about before, and obviously when you get into some of the higher end stuff, the antique collection, everything is phenomenal. But regular Buffalo Trace is good, but that single barrel pick, oh my gosh, you guys, it was amazing.
Yeah, there was a barrel pick that I think that I got from one of the local liquor stores around here. And I remember it was like, yeah, this is definitely, you can definitely tell the barrel picks from the standard, regular off the shelf bottles. And there was one that they had around here that I remember being like, wow, this is much better than usual. And it was a store pick. And as you were saying this, there's another bottle that was a store pick that I got from one of my local liquor stores who I frequent a lot. And it was the Russell's Reserve private selection of their Russell's 10 year. That was really good. Out of Wild Turkey, that was really good. And I remember getting that bottle, and we did a tasting of a bunch of different stuff, and I was like, yeah, that's good, that's good, that's good. And I grabbed a couple different things, and I got home, and I remember opening that bottle, and I finally had it open, and I was drinking it. And as I continued to drink it, I was just like, wow, this is really good. And it dawned on me that I actually had never had anything from Wild Turkey. So that was really my first experience with Wild Turkey. I'd never had the 101 or the Rare Breed or any of those other lines that they carry. So I kind of went right to that, and I just remember being blown away by it. And then, I couldn't find it again. And then they actually posted recently that they are one of, I think, 3 liquor stores in like the whole state that are getting a barrel pick again this year. So I was like, well, I definitely got to jump on that. So that's the thing with the barrel picks too. Like if you're really into bourbon, you find good places, that do good picks. People who really know how to pick the barrels. Those barrel picks can be really good. I mean, compared to the standard, the non-pick bottles, those can be really good. And I found that this store, the guy who runs the store, he does it right. He knows his stuff, and he always has some good picks. So, I think that's a thing that doesn't really get talked about enough. At least for me, like I feel like we're always talking about bourbon and stuff, but I don't really feel like there's a lot of specific pick talk going on.
Well, the topic too now is kind of switching over to tequila, and that seems to be interesting. And you said earlier on that you've been experimenting with the mezcal. So what have you had lately that you've liked?
So the Drew Estate guys really were pushing us to get into mezcal, and so we did a show recently with Joey Drew from Drew Estate, and he was really pushing the mezcal thing, and I'm just such a bourbon guy that I'm stuck in my ways. But we said, let's just have a mezcal. Well, actually, we could call it tequila summer because we're not totally limiting it to mezcals. But so tequila summer is going to be in Dojo Studios. We're going to really experiment, get our feet wet, so to speak, in tequilas and mezcals. And I really like it. So like mezcal is super smoky, but
Mm-hmm.
there's in some of the better mezcals, there's some kind of funk. And I like that kind of funkiness to it, the stuff that sort of challenges my palate and makes me think, hey, wow, there's something to this. So we've been doing a bit of that, and we've had a few really good bottles so far, but I have zero idea what I'm doing. So hopefully by the end of the summer, I'll know a little bit more about it.
Now, one thing I will say that's been our little secret that we've been kind of experimenting with is tequila that's been aged in bourbon barrels. And there is a whole bunch of stuff out there. And we've had the Corazon that's been aged in a Weller barrel. That was really good.
I have some Corazon, yeah.
Ah, that one was amazing. But what are the other ones, the taller bottles? I can't remember.
Oh, are you talking about the Expressiones?
Yes.
Well, that's all Corazon as
Yeah.
well, but it's a
Well,
different collection.
Yeah.
Yeah, Corazon is a brand that I've been getting into tequila myself. It's not something I've really been into, but in the last 6 months or so, I've been getting more into it. And like Corazon is a brand that I feel like is not that prevalent right now, but it's good. I feel like at least in our area, it's kind of a hidden gem. Um, but yeah, so I've been able to track down the I think it's the Reposado that they have aged in the Weller barrel. That's pretty good.
In the Sazerac one, too.
Um,
There's
yeah, and then we also have the Expressiones that was aged in the Sazerac rye barrel. But I've been going through all sorts, añejos, reposados, blancos. I mean, I've had all the basic stuff. Now I'm kind of gonna going off the beaten path. There's one that I found that I actually like as an everyday tequila, and that's the Terramana, which I believe is the Rocks tequila. We had that in Miami, I think. Yeah, was that my? Yeah, I think it was Miami. We were
Yeah.
at Cigar City,
Yeah.
City Cigar, and that's where I first had it. And I just remember being like, "Wow, this is really good. This is a nice, simple, everyday tequila, not too expensive."
it's like $30, I think, a bottle.
Yeah, so and that's the thing too. We talk about spirits, even cigars. But when you talk about the spirits, like you don't have to really break the bank to get a really good drink. Whether it's bourbon or tequila. And Eric, I know you feel the same way too. I mean, you walk into some of these stores and you'll see these bottles. Like I think the Casa Azul tequila that comes in the big clay pot bottle. I think it's like $140, $130, and I haven't had it myself. But I was like, I'll get to that. And I've had a lot of people tell me like, it's all hype. It's all hype. Now I don't know if that's true. I haven't had it, but you see stuff like that, and people are like, nah, you're better off just getting this. Just spend $30, and it's way better than that. So it's definitely new to us as well. It's definitely a territory that I haven't navigated too much, but so I'm excited for it. We definitely need to get to our news segment though. Our news segment is brought to you by McAuliffe Cigars. Become an ambassador today. Head over to McAuliffeCigars.com and sign up and get your coin and your tasting passport. Fill that out and send that back in to win some amazing prizes from McAuliffe Cigars. So, Eric, and you feel free to chime in on this one too. I think this is one that most of us have probably heard about, and that is the news that a bill seeking premium cigar exemption from the FDA regulations has once again been introduced to the House of Representatives. Now, this is obviously something that has been an ongoing thing. The FDA, cigars, regulations, putting some language in there to exempt premium cigars from other tobacco legislation. There was the substantial equivalence deadline that was supposed to happen last year, and it got moved, and then it got moved out again. And So the ever, as we talk about on the show all the time, and I'm sure you guys do as well, is the ever ongoing drama of the FDA versus our beloved industry. So Eric, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm just thankful for guys like Coop because they can keep me up to date on this stuff. I have to admit, my eyes sort of glaze over sometimes when this topic gets brought up because it's just there's so much to it. There's so many details. There's this bill. There's that bill, and we tend to focus a little bit more just on the community aspects and the cigars themselves. But obviously, as being in the industry, we have to try to stay abreast. Recently we had Glenn Loop and Josh Robisky on our show, and that was a really interesting show. I'd never met Josh before. He's a super cool guy. He's really knowledgeable and he's really excitable, and he's a big fan of what all of us guys do, you and our stuff. So that was really encouraging to see that they are paying attention. We got PCA shows coming up in just 2 weeks. We leave 2 weeks from tomorrow, so hopefully
We do
we'll
too.
be able to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll be able to hear some stuff maybe there that maybe we haven't heard elsewhere. So we'll see. But yeah, like I don't know, it's tough for me to get. All I do is I just push people to, hey, go fill out this. Go fill out this signature form. Let your voice be heard. Talk to your representatives and stuff, but I don't follow it as closely as guys like Coop, and that's why I'm so thankful that he does.
There's this is something that I definitely want to bring up with Coop on our spare notes series, but I'll kind of touch on it very lightly here with you in case you have anything. But I was on Facebook last night and I was scrolling through and I haven't really, and I'll admit I haven't researched this, so I don't know how accurate it is, but someone had commented or shared a link that the state of Connecticut will be banning indoor smoking as of, I want to say, October 1st of this year, which would, I believe, as this person said, and again, I haven't researched this yet, that's my disclaimer, that it would include cigar shops and lounges, which obviously is detrimental because that just kind of takes away.
Yes.
And so I don't know if you've heard this news, Eric.
I saw the same thing on Facebook. Probably the same post that you saw.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's crazy. Like, how did that slip through?
Yeah. And I remember whoever posted it was pretty angry with the PCA and trying to kind of point fingers and say like, wow, like I pay all these dues to PCA and these organizations and stuff like this kind of slips through, and I feel like that's kind of and I can't wait to talk to Coop about this because, as you know, it'll be such a long conversation with him, but a good one. But it'll be so thorough. But yeah, it's. I'm not going to take sides on it either. I mean, it's unfortunate, if indeed this is true, it is unfortunate, and it sucks to see that, and you hope that something changes and that really doesn't get set in stone. But it's kind of the reality of what a lot of people are dealing with right now, state to state, and that's why. And someone had commented, and I think this is really important to mention that as much as the PCA and the CRA are good organizations, and we all support them, and we stress people to get on that bandwagon. There's also state by state. There's their own cigar associations per state that kind of do their own stuff. Like right up here in New England, we have a lot of our cigar stuff gets done through New Hampshire. So there's the Cigar Association of New Hampshire, with David Garofalo and Kurt Kendall and some really cool and great people up here that have been really successful that have done a really good job of protecting a lot of cigar rights in New Hampshire, which is another great cigar state. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of throw that out there just as a little sprinkle of just don't forget about state organizations, and if your state doesn't really have one, or if it's weak or whatever, like get involved or try to get involved and make it better, because it protects all of your your cigar lifestyle where you live. So that's gonna do it for our news for the week. Now normally it's funny, I think when I was talking to you about coming on the show, I think it was that week, I think, or the day I think I talked to you last about it was you had John coming on your show. I think it was,
Right.
and so you didn't get to. I know he didn't do it with you, and I thought he would be here tonight. I didn't realize there was a gourmet smoke session, but normally on the show, he does his soap review, and
Yeah.
and you're missing out on that now. And I feel like you're one of those people that really would have loved this, and like
We did talk about it on our show. It was hilarious.
it's something that he does do it with us, whenever he's on. He's got his own. He's part of soap clubs, and he gets a different one, and he sits down with his bucket when he's up in Maine. When he's in Miami, he just goes right in his bathroom with his laptop. He's done them from some pretty crazy places. He was at Atlanta Cigar Week last year, and he brought the phone in the bathroom with him, and he had the bathroom attendant with him, and it was a whole thing. It's definitely fun. It's entertaining. I never thought it would become what it is, especially as a mainstay on our show. But and it's funny, we talked about doing it and kind of stealing his thunder, and I forgot all about it. And I wish I remembered, because I totally would have done one tonight and stole his thunder and made him really
I
feel
have
left
some
out.
other ideas to steal John's thunder.
Oh,
Sorry, John.
you do. Oh,
Yeah.
let's hear these ideas.
Oh, no, not on the show, but it might come about to fruition PCA week.
Are we gonna do it in the bathroom in the airport like John does?
Maybe.
I kind of did that when we went to Miami,
Mm-hmm.
but it was my first go about, so it kind of sucked.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, like I was a little shy, like going live in the bathroom, because I was like, there's gonna be someone who comes in, like, what the hell is this?
See the guy at the urinal in the back, just like
Yeah,
what happened last
yeah,
year.
like that happened to John. John was in the bathroom live on the show, and everyone was watching, and there's some dude in the background taking a piss, and it wasn't even blurred out. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? But and I don't even think he's watching with us tonight too, because I think he's getting ready to cook for, like, probably, I don't know, 120 people. So anyway, I guess we'll just glaze past that.
Yeah.
So Eric, we've talked a little bit about the dojo. We talked a little bit about you. We talked a little about bourbon. What are your I would say, what are your aspirations for the dojo in terms of, how do you want to continue to grow? What changes, if you could make any changes to it, and what would those be?
Well, just this week we announced a big addition to dojoverse.com, which is the digital Camp Camacho experience. So now inside the Dojoverse, there is a group that's Camp Camacho. And if you join that group, there's a whole different set of challenges and things that you can earn, badges and shields that are all Camacho related. So hopefully in time, we'll just keep expanding this universe of the dojo to just encompass more and more fun things to do for cigar smokers. Here's the thing with the dojo verse is, over the years, you share like what you're smoking on Instagram or on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, right? But like over 3 or 4 years, you look back and you're like, what did it all mean? Like, what was it, just a waste of time? What was I doing?
Right.
And so with the dojo verse, as you're doing these things, you can earn these types of badges. Like maybe you smoke a lot of Maduros, so you get like the Maduro Maniac badge, or maybe you smoke a lot of Cubans, so you get like the Cuban badge or whatever. And in time, you just start collecting these things, and it gives you kind of a profile of yourself. Like I didn't realize that I smoked so many Dominican cigars. I smoke, I'm a Dominican level 8, but I'm only a Nicaraguan level 1. I didn't even realize I was smoking so many Dominican cigars or so many Maduros or whatever it is, right? And so it gives you some sort of at least history of what you've been doing socially. Not only are you interacting with the community and having some fun there, but you're also getting some insights into your own smoking habits. And so we're just planning on expanding all those types of things over the years. And eventually, there's been 3 different times where Facebook has, kicked cigar groups off and then rescinded and let them back in. And so it's not unreasonable to think that there could come a day when Facebook says we don't want cigar groups or any cigar content on our platform anymore. It's not only possible, but in a way it's kind of probable. And so we hope that we'll be ready to absorb that and always give a place for cigar smokers to enjoy online. We're no longer beholden to Apple. We're no longer beholden to Google. We're not beholden to YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or anybody else. We are our own platform. And so, we're going to be there for cigar smokers, as long as we're on this planet. And so hopefully we can keep it interesting and have some fun. That's why we do the cigar collaborations that we've done in the past, to kind of just break up the year with something fun and different to do. And we've got more of those planned for this year as well. So we're always just trying to do something to kind of break up the monotony and make it interesting.
Yeah, I would agree with you with on that. And I've had this conversation with a lot of people. It's the inevitability um, of Facebook, YouTube, and all that stuff, and to have your own website. That's one thing. They can't take away your own website. That's your website. You host it. You pay for it. You build it. It's not someone else's platform where they can decide whether they want you on there or not. So having your own website, your own platform, your own, you have your own universe, so to speak. I think that's important, especially for the future with cigar. I mean, cigar specifically, it's an issue, and it gets talked about. And there have been people who've been kicked off. I remember it was last year. I think David Garofalo was on Facebook. His personal Facebook page just got wiped right out, and he wasn't even promoting anything on that page. It was just his personal page, just to connect with people. And he just one day he went on there, got wiped out. I've talked to Kevin Shahan, Cigar Prop, and he's been on the show before, and he's talked a little bit about this and having YouTube kind of suspend their accounts, and other people he knows, some of their videos are deleted, and now there's people moving over to other video platforms like Odyssey, which we have set up on, just as kind of another thing to have. But yeah, it's one of those things I've beginning to think about myself, just kind of move everything towards the website, because again, they can't take that away. Even the podcast channels, I think it's safe to say that the podcast channels are pretty safe for right now in terms of like those audio episodes that go up. I don't see those really being endangered. It is more of like YouTube and Facebook, and eventually probably Instagram's owned by Facebook. So I mean, I could see that being part of that too. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely important. I think you guys have done a really good job at creating your own space. It's really important.
Well, if that ever happens, you guys, there'll always be a place for a Smokin Tobacco group on Dojoverse. So you're safe.
Well,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. There's always the dojo. That
right.
if all else fails, that'll be my mission statement. There's always the dojo. There's always the dojo. Even Coop, hey, you know what? If Cigar Coop somehow, that we just absorb him into Cigar Dojo. I know he's probably listening too.
Yeah,
so.
you need a Cigar Dojo video platform for creators. Next step.
Ooh.
Well, so one kind of cool thing is you can embed any video from just about any platform into the Dojoverse. So there are other platforms that are far more accepting. There's Rumble, and if you mentioned one already, and so that's a topic, or that's an area that it would be very hard for us to breach. Would be the video hosting platform, because you're talking about massive amounts of data and bandwidth. But who knows what the future will bring? Maybe someday that we'll have to do that as well. We'll see. We'll just see how that goes.
Yeah, it's becoming one of those things where every day there's always and everywhere I go there's always a rumbling like, did you hear so and so's YouTube account got taken down?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, who's next?
I hate it. I laugh with you, but I hate it. I mean,
I agree.
We've ran into this. So, we had our app on, the original Cigar Dojo app was on Apple and Google, and I woke up one morning and it was just kicked off, and they said, no, we don't want any more tobacco products at all on our platform. And I called Apple. I kind of sweet talked the rep lady, and she allowed us to stay on for like another year and a half. We were kind of grandfathered in, if you will. But we couldn't update the app or anything. And so we were sort of stuck. And we were right at the point we were right at the point we were about to invest a significant amount of money to add some features, and then that happened, and so then we were in this sort of limbo phase for about a year and a half where we couldn't update our app, and we knew that the end was coming, and so then that was the kind of invigorated us to develop what we now call is the Dojo verse, and it's an app, but it's a progressive web app. So, you go to it on your phone's browser. If you save the icon to your home screen, then it just acts just like an app, like a regular app. It doesn't look like it's in a browser window or anything. It's literally like an app, but you just don't get it through the App Store. And so now we're not under the thumb of Apple. We're not under the thumb of Google or anybody else. Like there was a time when we accepted logins from Facebook, right? Like you could log into the dojo via your Facebook account.
Mm-hmm.
But then Facebook said, okay, you have to have the login page use all of our colors, or otherwise you can't use Facebook. The login screen has to look like Facebook when you're logging in. So all those types of things, we didn't want any of that. Like we didn't want to be dealing with,
Right.
these big tech companies telling us what to do. So that was really what pushed us. And I'm so thankful that it did, because now we have the freedom to do whatever we want. We have all these custom features. You check into cigars. There's a leaderboard. There's all these things that we could have never done in their platforms. And so in a way, it was a painful blessing, but it was a sort of a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, it's interesting when it works out that way. You're forced to do something, but it ends up helping you in a sense too. Here's a shot out of a cannon, and then we have to hit our sports news segment really quick. But a shot out of a cannon for you. So, being the master sensei that you are with cigars, best cigar experience you ever had? What was the one cigar you had at any location, any time, anything? That was like the one that you sat down, you had the cigar. It was the most memorable you've ever had.
I can remember it well. We were on a family cruise, and it was. I think we went to a few countries, and we had the whole family, my wife, all my kids. It was a great time. And there was this one morning where we were in a port in Mexico somewhere. I think it was, it doesn't matter. It was a port in Mexico somewhere. And what was it? No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Jordan said Cozumel. It wasn't Cozumel. It was, anyways. So we're in this port, and me and Jordan and Dominic, those are my two sons, we said, hey, let's get up super early tomorrow, and we'll have a cigar. And so we got up, but the sun wasn't up yet. We got some coffee at the little where the boat has a little restaurant. So we got some coffee, and we had My Father number threes. All of us had My Father number threes, and we went out onto the deck. There's nobody there. Like literally, we're just the only people out there, and the sun is just peeking out above the ocean, and we're standing there with a nice cup of coffee and these My Father number threes, just me and my two sons, and it was the most incredible smoking experience. I'll always remember that, and that was my favorite.
I love the way you painted the picture of that story too. I can almost picture it too. No, really. I mean, that's a really good story. I mean, you're with your sons. The sun's coming up. It's a beautiful image that you paint there. That's a fun. I always love hearing the answer, because everyone always gets so caught up. Every day you lighten up your smoking stuff. Sometimes you smoke some cool stuff. Sometimes you smoking stuff you don't like. You do like crazy rare stuff that doesn't live up to the hype, or maybe it does. But it's like no one ever talks about like that one time when it was like I had a cigar and it just changed my life. So I like asking that question. It's always a fun response. But yeah, we're gonna hit our news. Our sports news segment, brought to you by Nova Cigar. Hashtag Make Nova Big. If you head over to novacigars.com, you can use our discount code SMKTAB15 to save 15% off your order today. I'll keep this brief. Again, John's not really here for me to banter with, unless, Eric, you have anything you want to get in on.
Well, I hope it has to do with hockey, because I'm in.
Well, we can talk. We can talk hockey. We can talk hockey. The Bruins are out, but
Bruins are out. So are the Avs.
The
Painful. It's a painful subject.
Yeah, you're from Colorado, so yeah, you're a hockey guy. I didn't put two and two
Oh
together.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm a hockey fanatic. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, we might actually have a little fun with this. So, not only because they beat us, but also because this is Boston and we hate everyone from New York. I don't want to see the Islanders progress. I do want to see Tampa Bay bounce them out. You know, they did suffer.
Based on the other night, I think they will. Was it 8-0?
Yeah, it was 8-0. They got blown out. Was that game 4? Which game was that?
Yeah.
Or game 5,
I
maybe?
think so.
Yeah, they got blown out. It was 8-0. But Tampa Bay's got a good team. They got the cup last year. I still want to see. I still want to see Vegas win. I still want to see Vegas.
That's tough for me because they bounced us out. So, but at the same time, here's what I thought going into this weird playoff scenario. I thought it's either going to be Colorado or it's going to be Vegas. To me, those seemed like the two best teams in the NHL, but it was so hard to tell because with this whole weird COVID structure, the divisions they didn't play each other. So is the Canadian division any good? We don't know. Is the Western? How does the Western division stack up again? What about the East and so on? You didn't know how they would face one another. I've had a good idea that the Vegas Colorado series was going to be pretty brutal because both those teams were so good. But then once it got past that and they started playing the other divisions, I'm really surprised that the Canadians are doing so well against the Knights. I gotta say, I didn't see that coming. I sort of felt like Vegas was just going to roll over them, but that's not the case. In fact, it's one game away from the Canadians taking that. So Game 6, I think, is tomorrow night. So who knows what'll happen? Tampa's got a great team. Now based on the way Vegas has played against the Canadians, now I'm sort of leaning towards Tampa as being the better team.
So, also being from Boston, the Habs are not a favorite team of ours either. So
Right.
for us, I really don't want to see
Wait,
that.
let's just be honest. If you're a Boston fan, you don't like any other teams.
No.
You just
No.
hate all of the other teams. Come on.
We hate everybody.
I mean, we have a soft spot for football and Tom Brady still, but
Well,
other
yeah,
than
there's the exception
Yeah.
to the rule. The exception to the rule in Boston is you're also you're honorarily a fan of wherever Tom Brady goes now. So, yeah, we rooted for him in Tampa Bay. We were happy that they got it. We were just happy that Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski got a Super Bowl. That's really what it came down to.
I got another story, a good cigar smoking story.
Yeah.
I went down to Tampa, and I was hanging out with a bunch of there's a bunch of Dojo guys in Tampa, a bunch of great guys, Donald and Brad and Bob and all those guys, and we were watching the NFC Championship game with Tampa and Green Bay, and here we are at Cigars International, the new store down there. And this place is obviously it's packed, and I'm smoking a 20th anniversary Fuente, and that cigar just for some reason that day, it was so good, and the energy level in that building as the game started to wind down and people started to realize that they were going to win that game and go to the Super Bowl, it was insane. I took some live Facebook video that day of just the energy in that cigar store was incredible. And I'm smoking this fantastic cigar, and the drinks are pouring, and it was amazing. I was rooting for him too, man. And I'm, here's the thing. Here's the thing with Tom Brady. I used to hate Tom Brady, but I can't hate him anymore. He's just that good. There's no denying he's the greatest ever. So why? It's silly to act like Tom Brady is no good. If you come out and you say, oh, he's been lucky, this and that. You just sound like an idiot because he's obviously the greatest ever to play that position. So now I'm on board, man. I'm fully on board. I'm a Tom Brady fan now. I went from a hater to a fan because he's just that good.
I think for a lot of people, the argument could be made that with everything he did up here in New England, was good and he was successful, and we got six Super Bowls with him, and the 10. What did he get? 10 conference championships or nine of them, and he's got 10 now, but he had 9 with New England, and. I think like yeah, he did that with all one team. You could argue like there's so many factors with that, whatever.
Right.
To pick up, go sign with a new team, a team that, mind you, hasn't really been the talk of the town. And then you get Rob Gronkowski to come out of retirement to come down there and play. You get Antonio Brown, who they said we don't want Antonio Brown. Well, they signed Antonio Brown, and then they win the Super Bowl that first year. You can't argue that. I mean,
No.
I think that's really where it kind of was like. Yeah, I mean, you just can't hate him because it's not like just a New England thing anymore. It's just he is greatness.
It's a Tom Brady
He
thing.
can go somewhere else. He can go somewhere else, and he can do the same thing down there. And I think basically it was kind of like it kind of threw some shade over Bill Belichick because it's almost like like you're supposed to be like the best coach ever and blah 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 and now it's like, well, guess what? I did all this without you. So it's not like it was you. It's me.
And not only that, but another thing that adds to that story that you're saying is Tampa wasn't doing that good up through halfway through the season. And I think that's pretty much the time that Brady said, look, guys, you're just going to have to let me take over the offense and just do my own thing. And then he did. And then they were unbeatable. So like that just adds to the lore of this guy. I mean, he's incredible. I mean, it's something to see. I mean, in sports, it's kind of fun. Like, how often do you get to see like the Michael Jordans? Now it's been all these years, and you try to think back like how fun it was to watch like Michael Jordan. Like we're getting to see that still right now. With Brady, like it's really incredible.
I think it's incredible the fact that he's been around for so long that, like, I remember the first 3 Super Bowls in New England. There's kids now that watch him and are fans of him that weren't even alive when that happened.
Right.
And it's like, that's insane to me. You know what I mean? Like, they're like the fact that, he's just been around that long and he can still do it. He's going to be 45 at the beginning of the season.
Will he ever retire?
I mean, there was a time when he's like, I want to play till I'm 45. And now I think he said at least once on the record, like, we'll go for 50. Which honestly, if he was 49 and he was winning a Super Bowl, I wouldn't even be shocked. I'd be like, yeah, there he goes. That's just Tom Brady for you. So all right,
now you got to admit it. You guys got to admit. Did you get teary-eyed when Ray Bork held the cup with the Avs and all those years with Boston, and then he finally gets the cup from Joe Sakic in the Stanley Cup? I
remember that game.
That had to have been great for you Boston fans to see him. And it was really great for us Colorado Avalanche fans because, that was our second cup in just 5 years. But getting to see Bork, like, hoist that cup and that you knew that was it. That was his last chance. He'd played 2 years with the Avs and it wasn't going to happen again. But that year they pulled it off and he got to hoist the cup. That was incredible.
It's interesting that you bring that up. Because I'm definitely a sports guy, and I'm definitely an emotional sports guy. Like, I can really get sentimental over the special moments. And growing up, I played hockey, and Ray Bork was my favorite player. Like, I always wanted to be 77 when I played hockey. Like, that was my thing. It was Ray Bork. And I remember that. And I remember when he won. I remember when he got traded, and I was disappointed because I was like, he's not here. But I remember when he won, I was really young, but even at my young age, like my dad explained to me, like, like it's okay. And he went to another team, maybe he can win and, he can win the Stanley Cup. And I remember when he did it. And I remember that was special. Even being a young kid, like I remember that was special. And I remember watching that and, Joe Sakic takes the cup, but he gives it right to Ray Bork, which it never happens. It never. But it was like this is the respect moment. Like, no, Ray Bork deserves this. I know, like I take it, but no, this is for Ray, and that was special.
I'm getting goosebumps right now. Just you describing that, I'm getting goosebumps.
I just remember. I actually remembered the commentary of the trophy presentation when it was handed to Joe Sakic, and then and after, what is it, like 20, was it 23 years or whatever, 20, whatever, it was like, and then they just came, Raymond Bork, and he has the cup. And I just remember, like, yeah, man, that's one of those moments in sports where that's special. I don't care, like,
yeah.
that's special. I mean, that's special, like when like when Jordan came back and he won another championship, or when Tom Brady won the fifth one, or when they beat the Falcons. There's certain moments that, yes, they're good moments on their own, but there's something extra special about them, and that's got to be one of the best.
No doubt.
So, being a hockey guy, let me ask you this: do you feel that Gretzky is really the great one?
Oh, come on. Yeah, I mean, it's funny is if you're ever playing like hockey trivia or sports trivia and of any sort, and there's ever a question that's like, who had the most points per season? If you just answer Gretzky every single time, you're 9 out of 10 times you're going to be right. I mean, he literally holds every possible record that there is, and some of them aren't even close. Like, I mean, like his a mass amount of points and goals. Like, those records are never going to get broken. I mean, I know people say never say never, but those records really probably will not be broken. I mean, come on, they're so far ahead of everybody.
Yeah, I mean, that's the same with Tom. Like Tom's got that with football. He's like, every game he plays, he breaks another record. It's to the point now where they announce it, and I'm like, what do you do? Oh, all right, yeah, it's just another one. Okay, just add it to the list. It's like, we've seen Michael Jordan, we've seen Gretzky, we've seen Tom Brady. We're due for another, like, really big baseball superstar, though. I mean, there's been some really good players in recent years, but there hasn't really been a really high caliber baseball player on that level. So I'm excited to see who that next person is. I mean, granted, baseball's been around a long time, and as I said, there's been a lot of great players, but I think we're due for another, like, super legend in baseball. It might help bring some ambiance to the sport that it needs.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
Hey, so that's gonna do it for sports. That was a fun one, even though John wasn't here. That was still a fun one. I liked that one.
Now, he wouldn't have brought anything to that conversation anyway. So
he would. You know what he would have done? He would have spun that into the NBA. He would have turned that into, like, well, one can argue, like, the NBA, and it's like, all right, it's nice to have a nice hockey conversation. It's always football and basketball with John.
Yeah, hockey's the only real sport left.
I'll admit, playoff hockey. First of all, hockey players in general.
Yeah.
Like, I'll admit, those guys. I mean, what was it? Was it 2 years ago? The Bruins were in the finals. We lost to St. Louis, and I remember Chara took the puck to the mouth and broke his jaw. He came back out on the bench with a glass mask, and he's like, "No, look, I'm going in." And he started the next game. And he's like, no, I'm going out there. He had the glass cage, all, like, the full face, but he was out there, and I was just like, dude, if I broke my jaw, I'd be like, I'd be like, no, that's the last thing I want to do. He's like, no, get me back out there, just give me, like, a better. It's like, okay, these guys lose teeth, break legs. They're like, no, I'm going out.
That had to have been rough this year for Chara, like losing to Boston, and that had to have been kind of a heartbreaker for him.
Do you think he's done?
I mean, yeah, like, he's another guy that I just really like a lot. Like, he just seems like a super cool guy. And I'm friends with the Colorado Avalanche, the voice of the Avalanche, and he always tells me, like, that's the one guy that nobody wants to fight, 'cause he's so big, and he's not known as a fighter or anything like that, but he's just so big, and he's got a little bit of a mean streak in him that just dudes don't mess with him, man. I mean, but yeah, I don't know if he played again, like, another year or two, how much is left in the tank? I don't know. Like, if he was on the right team where he just had to kind of hang back and play D, maybe he could squeak out a couple more years. But he's been a great player. He's got nothing to hang his head about. I mean, come on, he's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, we loved him when he was in Boston. Large, big guy. He's got his own custom sticks that are, like, taller than me. I mean,
Massive
massive guy. I love the I remember. I mean, they all have it, but like with him specifically because of his stature and his sticks, the slow motion,
Yeah.
like like to see that thing curl is like, it's just crazy.
Yeah. Nowadays those sticks just bend like rubber, don't they?
Oh yeah, yeah. No more wooden sticks.
Yeah.
So Eric, we're getting towards the end of the show. We've had some fun conversation. It's been a good time, and I want to thank you again for coming on and hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. It's been a good time, and I know you guys have a show tonight you got to prepare for. So like I said, we started a little earlier. And we wanted to make it all work, and we wanted to give you plenty of time so you could prepare. But yeah, thanks for coming on. We'd love to have you back in the future. But before we go, is there anything that you would like to say or anything you'd like to promote to close out the show?
I think I've promoted pretty much everything. I know we'll have some exciting news at PCA, Dojo news at PCA. We do a lot of collaborations, cigar collaborations that we've done in the past, and one of them might be coming back at PCA. I can't say which yet, but that'll be exciting. We're really looking forward to that, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Otherwise, it's hey. The main thing this week is the Camacho experience inside Dojoverse. It's super cool, and so people should check that out. Just go to dojoverse.com and sign up. You could earn your black belt tonight, or not your black belt. You could earn your white belts probably tonight if you posted some pictures and checked into a few cigars. So.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna have to go back on the dojo and check it out. And like I said, I've lost a little touch with the dojo. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, yeah, I'm on there every day. No, I'll admit I've lost a little touch with them, but I'm gonna get back in, because that might be our backup plan someday. We might just
That's
we might
right,
just
yeah.
we might live on the dojo.
There's always the dojo.
There's always the dojo.
That'll be our new tagline. There's always the dojo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's always the dojo. Nicole, is there anything you wanted to say?
No, just the next couple weeks. We are prepping for PCA on the show, so I think we're gonna do a pre-show and then a post-show.
Yeah, we will
Next
be.
few
So if you're
shows.
looking at the schedule, did we make our announcement? We are moving the show back to Thursdays. I think this is going to be our last Wednesday show. If not, it'll probably be the week after next.
Stay tuned for an announcement.
Yeah,
Formal
we'll have a specific when that changes, but we are going to be going back to Thursdays. We're going to stick to the same time. We're not going to go. We used to do Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. We are going to stick with 7, but we'll be back on Thursdays. It's easier for us just personally, so that we can give our full undivided attention to the show and to Smokin Tabacco. So it'd just be a lot better for us. So we're not going anywhere. Just we'll be on a different day. We will be live in Las Vegas. So next week we have a show. The week after, we will
Maybe
be
a
live.
show.
Yeah, we will do
Yeah.
a show. We head out to Las Vegas, and then we're actually staying through Las Vegas the whole week after the trade show as well, just for some personal downtime. But we will still go live from Las Vegas too. We might even do something with Will Cooper. It's kind of been there's details are still working out, but there won't be any missing shows. We're gonna be going right through. So don't worry, we're not going anywhere. Other than that, thanks guys for watching with us. Eric, thank you for coming on the show, and we'll see you all next week. Eric, don't go anywhere.
All right.
Bye, everyone.